Right, hello there everybody, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you happen to be. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knick Knack, and yes, I am wearing a Ron Says Bugger It t-shirt. I wish it was an official one, but the Terry Pratchett estate doesn't seem to do them. Let's get a move on. As I've said, my name is Paul, I'm also called Knick Knack, I'm the brains behind Knick Knack's Daily Teaser. It's a set of fun quizzes. I write them and publish them to Knickknack's Old Peculiar, my blog, and my YouTube channel, Mr. Cuddy2977. You're watching this video, and if you are, you're watching it on my YouTube channel. Hopefully you're going to enjoy it, because it's a review of Episode 10, Series 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and the episode was called New Life and New Civilizations. This is what I thought. Episode 10, New Life and New Civilization, opens with a summary, one that reminds us of how, in Through the Lens of Time, the dead body of Ensign Gamble, Chris Myers, had been possessed by a creature called a Vesda, and how that creature had seemingly been dealt with. The scene shifts to the episode's cold open to show us Captain Pike, Anson Mount, organising one of his famous dinners in order of Captain Marie Battelle, Melanie Scrofano, who's been named as the new director of the Judge Advocate's Office, something she's looking forward to starting work on. The regulars, Dr. Mabenga, Lieutenants Ortegas, Noonien Singh and Uhura, Lieutenant Commander Chin Riley and Commander Pelia, Basil Samokan, Melissa Navia, Christina Chong, Celia Rose Gooding, Rebecca Romaine, and Carol Kane, are soon joined by Scotty, Martin Quinn, who's vaguely shocked to find that the dinner is not the dress uniform event he was expecting. That's the modern Scott Tartan, in case you were asking. Pelia is keen to remind him and the rest of the team of a time-travelling doctor she once knew. The cold open scene shifts again to show us Roger Corby, Killian O'Sullivan, is in the city of Kalikachna on the planet of Skyyawan. His most recent message to Nurse Chapel, Jess Bush, tells us he's missing his fiancée, but that the city he's in is an amazing place, even if the inhabitants think of the evil Vesda as gods. What Dr. Corby doesn't know as he's taken to the High Temple is who, or what, he's going to end up meeting. Right, what did I make of New Life and New Civilizations? It's not often I say this, but you've probably already guessed that New Life and New Civilizations is a sequel. And more specifically, it's a sequel to Through the Lens of Time, the episode a couple of weeks ago. And it shows us what's been happening in the weeks and months since. Gamble, or the creature possessing Gamble's eyeless corpse, has now installed itself as the living god of the peoples of Skyyawan and has taken over one of the planet's temples. There's an interdimensional portal in that temple that can take him directly to Vadia 9, where he can free the rest of the imprisoned Vesda. But to do so, he needs to go through the portal with Dr. Mabenga, and not be stopped by Captain Battelle and the rest of the crew. Battelle, it seems, is a reincarnation of the Beholder, the Warden of Vadia 9, whose statue is currently plugging the Vesda into the prison. The episode is a beautifully told and exciting one, even though I have at least one doubt about the story. The doubt in question takes place from about 35 minutes in, and it's the scene, the 10-minute montage of scenes we see that are a repeat of Star Trek The Next Generation's The Inner Light. So, you know, that episode tells of an encounter between the USS Enterprise D and a mysterious artificial probe or satellite, one that immediately possesses Captain Picard and forces him to mentally relive the life of a village blacksmith during the last days of the planet Katan. K-A-T-A-A-I-N. It's been years since I've seen it. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but there we go. At any rate, the probe allows Jean-Luc Picard to live a life he would otherwise have never lived, to know the simple life of a blacksmith and the joys of happily married family life. It's years worth of lifetime condensed into some 45 minutes of TV show and mere minutes of time on the Enterprise D. In a similar way, this 11-minute montage shows us Marie using her new powers to show Captain Pike the life she knew he would never otherwise have. They both know what's coming in the future. They both know this would not normally happen. It's a course of a lifetime over the course of minutes. And I have to admit, I felt not entirely comfortable with the scene. Partly because the scenes were obviously built on earlier work, partly a repeat of The Inner Light. That's not bad on its own, but it also was something of a gear change, I felt. Suddenly the story goes from a tense, fast-moving thriller to a slow drama, something I almost found too slow for my taste. I found myself looking at my watch and wondering how much longer this section would be. That said, there are things that counterbalanced it. The boredom I felt at these scenes was balanced out by a couple of things. Firstly, the simple fact it was beautifully done. The lighting, the set design, the fact we have some oh-so-threatening knocking reminding us that Gamble is still outside the door and still a threat. The fact the whole thing was filmed in just one location, seemingly. Yes, it was something I found slow, and yes, it was something I found boring, but it was also simply and elegantly done. It was beautifully made. The second thing, Anson Mount's last scenes in the episode. If you've not seen it by now, this is a bit of a spoiler warning for you, although you've hopefully seen the one at the start of this review. But you possibly may not know that Captain Battelle dies in New Life and New Civilizations. Well, she doesn't die per se. Instead, she is turned permanently into a statue, into the statue of the Beholder that's keeping the Vesda permanently imprisoned on Vadia 9. Permanently standing on Vadia 9 and no longer able to move, breathe, or seemingly communicate with anyone. Her only purpose is to keep the Vesda trapped. She is, in all but name, functionally dead. The boredom I felt in those Inner Light scenes was more than balanced by Anson Mount's performance as Pike after he sees the effective death of the woman he loves. From the minute he responds near the end of the episode to number one's question, to Una's "wanna talk?" with a restrained "maybe soon but not yet." From the minute near the end of the episode he walks onto the bridge with a look on his face that tells us and the crew exactly how he's feeling, exactly that everything has changed for him. Anson Mount is showing us a man who is shocked, is grieving, is facing a lifetime of memories at the merest sight of an apron given of a gift. It is the performance of a lifetime. I honestly think Anson Mount has given us, and most actors on the planet, a lesson on how to play somebody who is grieving and yet still has to lead. It's beautiful. There are other things in the mix here, I think. Stuff that's trivial in comparison, but still worth mentioning, I think. The design work, for one. Stygalman, the planet we see in the opening part of the episode, has a set of floating temples, ones that resemble elongated octahedrons, elongated eight-sided dice. Those temples are gorgeous to look at, but also reminded me of the Leviathan in the Hellraiser franchise, even down to the colour scheme you see in some screensaver versions of the creature. The character of Gamble, for another, is possessed by a Vesda, as we know, and is posing as a god, but was wearing a very elaborate bone mask, I think it's supposed to be. It looked like I don't know what, but it put me in mind of the skulls of wildebeest, the ones you see whenever a film is trying to show you drab hit plains in Africa with those long, complicated, curving horns. It's both threatening and gorgeous to look at. I found myself just staring at the things and trying to trace the curves of them. There's other points as well. The interdimensional route that connects Vardia 9 to the temple in Skigawan is one of many such routes, it seems. Routes that immediately get dubbed ley lines by Scotty, Martin Quinn. In case you didn't know, ley lines are supposed lines of mystical energy that connect one holy site to another. Not that I believe in the real world versions, of course, but using the name for a fictional dimensional corridor seemed a good use for the term. Then there's the cold opening in this week's episode. It shows us Montgomery Scott turning up to his first captain's table in, of course, full formal rig. It's the traditional sort of Enterprise prank. But the one thing that caught my eyes was the few seconds where Commander Bellier, Carol Kane, tells us to remind me to tell you about the time I spent with a time-travelling doctor. Quite who she was talking about there, I really couldn't tell you. Okay, let's be honest. Bellier's comment sounded awfully like a reference to Doctor Who, which, given the brief appearance of the TARDIS in the Salatu ate its tail, was very much appreciated, certainly by me. I have been watching Doctor Who for most of my life, so seeing a mention of it in my other favourite show, Star Trek, is definitely nice. And for a fan who's reviewed both shows, including the recent Ncuti Gatwa-led episodes, it gives me an excuse to mention Doctor Who in the middle of a Star Trek review. Seeing Ncuti leave the show is definitely sad. I think I can understand the why of it. Not hearing about the Disney deal definitely puts a crimp in a career, but it's sad in part because the guy was talented, but also because his story had unfinished plot threads that now seem unlikely to be resolved, especially given there's been no announcement of a third series of the main show, of the main Doctor Who show. We don't even have an air date for the War Between Land and Sea, the unit-themed spin-off show, beyond being told that it's going to air at some point in 2026. Given that little lot, I can't help but think that the Disney deal that funded the Ncuti Gatwa, Russell T Davies 2 era was badly done. I think with hindsight, the Disney deal should have funded 3 series of Doctor Who and then talked about spin-offs in the renewal negotiations after those had closed. We should have got 3 series of a Ncuti-led series and a completed story arc, rather than the 2 series and a spin-off and the incomplete story that we've eventually wound up with. Personally, I think it's deeply disappointing. With all of that said, Doctor Who is something of a side issue, especially in a review of an episode of Star Trek, which leaves me turning around and telling you that I know what you're going to ask me next. Paul, you're going to say, Paul, what did you make of New Life and New Civilizations? I have to admit, yes, there are parts of the story I didn't enjoy. There are parts of the story that I found, to be frankly honest with you, boring and something I felt could have gone a little faster. That is not to say New Life and New Civilizations was a bad episode. Far from it. Cast, writers and crew have made another great episode. I just found one section that wasn't quite to my taste. That aside, New Life and New Civilizations worked well and shows us Pike as a tragic figure, a testament both to the show's writers and this episode's writers, and Anson Mount's capabilities as an actor, which is the important thing, I suspect. Pike is mourning the loss of a lover, and it's a fact, I think, which will no doubt affect the show's next 2 series and Pike's ongoing arc. Given that, I think given the strength of New Life and New Civilization and Series 3, I'm looking forward to seeing Series 4. That, I think, is where I'm going to leave both things and my Ron Says Bugger t-shirt. I can only say a few things in all seriousness. First, what am I going to be reviewing next now this 3rd series of Star Trek Strange New Worlds is over? Your guess is frankly as good as mine. I'm expecting to watch and review the 5th season of Stranger Things when that airs later this year. I am also planning to do the same for All Mankind, but don't have an air date for it as yet. I will probably see the trailer for All Mankind when Apple decides to broadcast it through my Apple TV 4K. All I can positively say about that is that Apple have declined to comment. Hopefully, I will be watching The War Between Land and Sea when that airs in 2026, and at some point between now and then, I will probably be trying to catch a movie. Superman looks appealing, as does 28 Years Later. We will have to see what happens there. Either way, please feel free to subscribe to both my blog, Knickknacks Old Peculiar, and my YouTube channel, Mr. Cuddy2977, and if you hit the bell as well, you will get notified both of reviews and of when the daily teaser turns up. I'm also going to ask you one bit of a favour. If you can put a few pence in the tip jar that's going to be floating around up there at some point, it would be appreciated. Every penny helps run both the channel and a blog and keep me in basically cornettos ho-hum. At any rate, if you'd like to do that and maybe have a look at my nephew's YouTube channel at JP December, he's got a lot that will appeal to your kids, hopefully, especially if you've got teenage boys. Finally, and as a last word, I can only hope you've enjoyed both Star Trek Strange New Worlds Thirst series and this episode and my review, and you want to see more, come back soon. Please feel free to hit subscribe and leave a tip. I will see you the next time I see you. Take care, have fun, be good, and
Be seeing you.